Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic in 3D.
Okay, everybody,
Bong.
1, 2, 3.
No.
Why are we?
Not everybody clapping.
Well, you
Hi, everybody.
You need at least somebody.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Welcome to Nerdtastic in 3D, episode number
20.
20.
20.
We have made it. Made it to the big leagues. I think I said that at 16.
18 and 21, I think, are
I'm
important.
pretty sure every week we get a show out is big time
So
for us.
exciting. You all made it another
Guys,
week.
congratulations. 20 episodes. Well done. That's awesome.
I thought we
I'm
would've maybe
only in for
lasted
15.
6.
And
My contract ends in one more episode.
Yeah.
Renegotiation.
Renegotiations for sure.
and a special shout out to Mr. Josh LeBrot.
Yeah, why?
Because you came up with the ingenious idea of having cameras rotating in the middle of us so that you can actually get a middle of the group perspective, see our reactions, our discussions. So that's all, Josh. We are going to put a link on to the device that's making this possible. It is a $6
$6.47.
solar-powered rotating thing. I don't
Is
know
it
what else
new?
to call it.
Did you get it new or was this?
Yeah, no, I actually paid for overnight shipping so that it would get here.
Was
'Cause
the
I
overnight
ordered-
shipping more than what the device cost?
No, I mean it was $3 I think for overnight shipping. The device was about $6.40 and yeah, so it came to like $10 and whatever something cents, and I'm just like, it's just so worth it.
Awesome.
Just to make sure it was here because it was more the fact I just wanted to see if it worked.
Like, if we didn't use it for the cameras, would you have this at your desk, like rotating your coffee mug?
Ooh, quite possibly.
I would that
All-
I would use it for. I
all
would
day,
use it for
all day
something.
long just to see that if it was working. I put my sunglasses on it and just had it like just spinning there. Like,
And did it have enough light to actually work?
Oh yeah, it doesn't take much light as long. It's just like if you remember the Texas Instrument calculators that were all solar. You know, they worked in all your classrooms or whatever. As long as it's just not like pitch black.
I have a miniature toy Gleek from the Super Friends that I would more than happily sit on that.
Wow, that is nerdtastic. Speaking of which, let's do some
Yes.
quick introductions. My name is Jason Carter. To my left is...
Adam McFarlane.
Jack Eckler.
Sean Fennell.
Josh LeBron.
And we are the Nerdtastic in 3D crew, here to talk to you about everything and anything that we pretty much find nerdy. And I think the first thing that we have to discuss today, guys, is something that was announced today, if I'm not mistaken, Google Glass. Sean, you want to take the reins on this one?
Google Glass is crazy. So there's a video.
And that's it, folks.
And moving on to the next topic.
You have to take our word for
That's
it.
my
That's
official
it'd be
review
crazy.
of Google Glass.
Ta-da!
It's gonna rain.
So
People look like ants.
chunky. What was I talking about?
Google Glass.
Glasses.
So Google Glass is essentially this this product where you wear a pair of glass frames, and there is a very small glass window attached to the corner of it, and it is essentially what do they call it when you have your phone and the reality
Augmented
reality.
It is essentially augmented reality in your eye, and pretty much you get an interface and a heads-up display, and it's context sensitive. So in the video, they show the guy walking to the subway, and then it pops up an alert saying the subway is delayed. And he's like, oh, crap. Well, give me walking directions to blah, blah, blah. And it maps it out for him, and then it pops up the direction, and it says you are this many feet away, take a right at this street. And he walks over to this place, and while he's walking, he sees something on the wall. And he says, oh, that's cool. Take a picture of that. And it takes a picture of it. He's like, share it with my Google circles, and it shares it with the Google circles. And then
Post it to YouTube.
posted, yeah, that type of stuff.
Interesting.
So it's essentially just walking around with you. Now,
Hashtag Subway's closed. Don't go this direction.
but from what I understand, a group at MIT is working on a contact lens to do very similar things, and they've actually just figured out how to get an image that rests on the lens of your eye so that you can focus on it. And the goal is to have this hooked up to the internet, and you can literally like Wikipedia people as you walk down the street.
What's the input? I get that that's the display, but what's the input?
I'm not sure.
Like, is it voice activated? Like,
Voice
like
activated,
the guy was
yes.
talking to.
Oh, the glass.
the glass
the
thing was
contacts.
voice activated.
Well,
The
either
contacts
way.
thing could be blink controlled, or I mean, I suppose there's a bunch of
Goofy,
different
you'd
ways.
look there, you're like, yes.
Right.
Hold on, what's more?
Especially if you have two of them and you're like doing different things with different eyes and stuff. Yeah.
I think you'd have to stay voice activated somehow. I think that's the
Probably.
only way it stays.
Do
the
any
way
of
he
you,
was
do
doing
any
it
of
was
you
cool.
wear contacts?
I don't.
No.
I wear glasses though.
There's a lot of issues with just the contact alone, let alone trying to have an image on it.
How
I mean,
about the first gen where it's like $10,000 a contact?
yeah, and
Oh,
they're
shit,
made of
drop
like,
my contact.
they're
You don't
legitimately
get it.
made of something like kind of flexible, but not really. So putting them in, you like, I broke that one. It
and your
snapped.
$39.99 Wi-Fi subscription.
No,
to a
fuck no. It's like
provider
having a
that
65-inch plasma in one eye.
But anyway, so back to the glasses. It had a lot of really cool stuff where it was. It was like geotag, like
you
it
were
recognized where you're
geotagging
located.
things. You could set up. You could see some sign and say, "Hey, schedule an appointment."
Yeah,
for me
it was like remind me to buy tickets.
Remind me to buy
blah,
tickets
blah,
for
blah.
this tonight.
the sharing video was to me. Was
They did
the coolest,
FaceTime or like
coolest
some
aspect.
kind of.
That was
like,
a very cool thing. So at the very end of the video, he gets a phone call from his girlfriend, and he's like, "Hey,
We're
standing
assuming
up
it's
on-"
his girlfriend.
We're assuming it's his girlfriend or whatever. He gets a call from someone, and you see her video at the bottom of his screen, and he says, "Hey, check this out. Share video," and it shares what he's looking at with the person that he's talking to on the call.
Yeah.
So essentially, he looks up and he sees this sunset. And
Oh,
he
you
starts
guys are
playing a ukulele.
This becomes reality. You guys are all screwed. I'm so calling you in the middle of some fucked up shit.
No, decline call.
Hey, Josh, share.
Look at this.
What the hell?
Exactly.
But the thing that's really, really interesting to me is just the internet at your fingertips, context sensitive to your everyday life, and walking around and saying, hey, I've never met you before. We have a job interview, and it does a facial recognition, and
That's
you
some
have that
scary
entire
shit.
person's background
Yeah.
and IMDb page and Wikipedia stuff just about that things. And
It's a very Minority Report.
yeah, very minority.
It totally
Report.
is. Like when they walk out and they little flash on there.
And I mean, you
on
can
your eyes.
imagine in college settings where you're taking exams and so forth, and you have this thing in your eye helping you with all of the
Well,
problems.
that's a good point. It's like, how do you?
Never thought of that. That's a genius.
You just don't let kids wear glasses ever.
But that goes a next step further. It's the whole debate I had with somebody not too long ago about their disgust for the lack of calculator use in schools once you hit a certain age. How some schools still won't let you use calculators, and
Whether you use an abacus.
no, just paper, adding
paper,
hands,
paper
whatever
and
you
pencil.
have to do. But there's not a real world. It's hard to fight that nowadays. There's no real world
There's actually a really
reasons not to use it.
a really good TED Talk about how our educational system for mathematics especially is built on calculation and not problem solving. And he goes into a whole lot of that discussion of like, we have computers to do this job for us. We should let the computers do the calculation and us do the problem solving because it's the one thing that computers can't do is reasoning. So we should be able to do the reasoning and come to the conclusion, but let the computers do the hard work or the monotonous work of crunching those numbers, because you don't learn process from calculation, you learn process from problem solving.
And I don't think we're in any at the moment should be scared about a nuclear holocaust where we're all going to have to go back to the Stone Ages, and the smartest people in the world are the ones who can use the abacus in their hands and go, my God, Adam's a genius.
Man.
Still
He
don't know
can
how-
add.
I
You
do
can
not
roll
know
those
how-
little balls on that stick all day long.
I
They're
have
like,
no
how do you do
idea
that?
what any of those mean, by the way.
I don't either.
Decimals.
What?
Well,
It's
they
all
mean
about
whatever you
decimals.
want them to mean, actually.
Well, decimals.
Well, the way you could use it, abacus.
Yes,
Let's
decimals.
spell out words.
2 plus 2, 4.
Yes, decimals. 2.
Oh, marbles.
Your face is a decimal.
I like that.
Like Dewey. Decimal.
Oh,
Come on, guys! I'm bringing
So
you comedy
the
gold.
idea
Bullying
though
just
of
got
having,
ruptured.
I mean, when he was walking around, stuff would just pop up, whether he said anything or not. It'd be like, "You got a message."
Now, would that
you
fuck
gotta,
with you?
That's my question.
my
It's
whole
like,
thing.
would
It'd
you
fuck
really?
with you.
I mean,
you'd have
there
your
are
phone
times,
in your eye all the
Yeah.
time.
Wait, so
Would be
part of
weird.
if part of this,
What
I'm
if it
sure was
vibrated?
you said augmented reality, right? So part of it is that there is a graphical overlay of what your eyes actually seeing, correct?
it was very minimal. Like it would do
Yeah.
this. Like you'd say, "Give me a route to blah 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 bookstore," and it would do the Google Maps for like a fraction of a second, and then it would disappear.
So I have a question. What happens when you have 2 contacts in, and then all of a sudden you get the blue screen of death?
What happens when someone throws porn on your
You die.
Hey, dude, check the
You
video
walk
out.
around with a
Porn.
massive boner.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
I
Nothing?
just love it because you can't see from the other side. What are you
Nothing.
doing, Jack? Why are you staring at me like that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not staring at anything.
So I thought of this.
You're humping
why are you
the
humping
air.
the air?
You're humping the air again.
I thought of this interesting application that could potentially partake. So say you could actually graphically overlay things on top of the real world. Like there was person, like form detection and stuff. So we did this at DreamWorks once when I was there. Have you guys ever played that get to know other people at your work or camp or whatever?
Yeah, those suck.
Called Assassin. There's this game called Assassin where
I've never done it, but I know.
everybody
Yeah.
puts a name into a hat and everybody pulls out a different name and everybody gets a squirt gun. And your goal is to sneak up on the person that you draw their name, even if you don't know who they are. You have to figure out who they are, sneak up on them, squirt them, and then you grab their name, and now your new target is whoever their target was. So it's kind of basically like sort of a game of tag, basically. But I thought this kind of technology could be really interesting because say everybody like digitally all said, okay, we're going to meet in Manhattan at Times Square, hundreds of thousands of people. Everybody's going to put their name in their hat. Everybody gets one name. And you have no idea what this person looks like.
Mass murder.
And you get
And
to
yet-
shoot them. And when you
With
you
a
take their
squirt
head,
gun.
well, you
With a
take their
squirt gun.
head, and when you get their powers,
No.
you move on.
So what I'm saying is, if you
That's a TV show.
That's assault.
It was a movie. Thank you very much. Go on, Jason.
if you were to pull a name and then you had no idea what they would look like, this graphical overlay could actually like highlight them. Oh, hey, there's this little red like outline person in this massive crowd, and then you could kind of go up and try to like sneak up on it. It could be really interesting,
Well,
like
it did that
game
in the video.
in the real world.
If you shared your location, I mean,
Yeah.
it did it with that guy in the video. He was like, "Where's so and so?" And it was
He's
like,
like,
250
he's-
feet right
yeah.
outside this way. You're like, okay, that's scary shit.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sneak up on that guy.
Another thing that was really cool that I was like, that's awesome, is he gets into a store and
Oh.
says, where's the music section? And it draws an indoor map of the...
Because Google is now going inside
Yeah.
businesses,
White
and,
House.
and scanning. I saw that video too, but they're also doing like big businesses and stuff like that, where you can, I think, eventually get.
It's cool.
I'm
that-
lost in the food
On
section.
April
So
20th,
I'm
Skynet
lost in
became
Walmart.
aware.
Have you
I'm
guys
telling
seen
you guys.
the Google Street View cars?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the thing that sits on top of the car is not inconspicuous. It is a big honking thing.
It's LiDAR.
Bubble.
But the
LiDAR.
coolest
Yeah,
thing
LiDAR,
is
yeah.
they've somehow taken that technology and put it into this very small little like sleek tall cart. And that's what, like, if you watch that on Devour, we'll try to send out a link. They took it around the White House and they showed this little like promo of the White House, and it's amazing that this thing that was so big on top of a car now fits into this sleek little like cabinet.
What's crazy is I've literally seen the backpack version that they do inside of.
Oh, yeah,
they
when
did a
they're,
thing
like,
where doing
walking up
restaurants.
volcanoes and
Well,
stuff
they've
with
done
it.
like restaurants too, and it's literally a guy with a backpack and it coming up like this, and he's got some rig where he's got his little like tablet or whatever where he can kind of see it and make sure everything's working. But it's a backpack, and the guy's just walking. He was just walking in. He was talking to business owners. He's like, "Hey, can we do Google whatever restaurant view of your restaurant?"
I wonder how technology like this will help disabled people. Like, Stephen Hawking is an extremely smart person, and he's had to hold all of these things, a lot of these calculations and stuff in his head because of his limited physical ability. And he's got a person that's on his side that's an understudy with him that like helps transcribe what he's doing and talking about. He can't speak very well. I'm really kind of wondered how some of this type of technology will help that type of person.
He can speak just fine, thank you.
That is no special effect, ladies and gentlemen.
He
That
Skyped
is-
in. Stephen Hawking
Yeah,
Skyped
dude,
in.
Skyped in here.
That's the real
It's,
stuff,
That's
folks.
our surprise guest for today.
Sorry, Sean, you were saying.
I finished my point. How would that type of technology help you, Mr. Hawking?
Well, I don't. The voice recognition would have problems.
I'm sure it would, yes. But
I'd say,
from what I
honestly,
understand,
I'd
he
say
has
limit him even more.
From what I understand is he has technology that tracks his iris while he's looking at his screen, so that he can spell and type without the use of his hands, without the use of his helper, just by looking across the screen. So, I mean, if they embed stuff like this into that technology too, you could potentially operate it completely voice free.
They're pretty interesting. Hey, so let's shift gears just slightly. I believe one of our listeners wrote in with a question. Sean, is it a friend of yours? Is that right?
Yeah, this is a student of mine that I used to teach at the Art Institute. He's
where?
doing Art Institute in Santa Ana, and he's doing game cinematics now as an animation lead, I believe.
Where at?
Animation supervisor.
Can we say where he
Done
works?
that?
He is part of. Sorry, my mind is failing me right now. Blizzard.
He works at Blizzard. Okay.
Yeah. So, he emailed me and said, hey, I got a topic, motion capture. Do we feel that motion capture will ever replace keyframe animation as a technique?
No.
Ever? Really?
Ever. Two completely different styles. That's like somebody going, the computer's going to take away painting. It's just a different medium.
So I'm thinking the reason that I would say no is because there are some things currently that we cannot motion capture, right?
Like?
Name it.
Well, we cannot motion capture flying dragons, for example. Realistically,
Sony tried.
they tried.
They killed that one dragon when they had that rig on it.
No, we tried on Beowulf. And
Ray Winston did method acting as a
dragon.
They
There's
had
videos
him,
somewhere.
He's like,
Hold on. How do you method act a
He was
dragon?
oh, exactly.
Oh,
he
he
was
was-
in his little harness
yes.
thing, and
Yeah.
like it was supposed to be
There
flying
is a
around.
there is a
And
voice.
wait, this happened, folks. This really happened.
No, this happened, and there's a voice actor who does dragon voices. Actually, he contorts.
Ray
his voice
Winston
into
doesn't, so it was
crazy
even that
stuff.
much more funny.
But yeah, I'm just thinking very stylized animation styles, extremely difficult, if not impossible, to motion capture properly. Now, what I do know is that some people will try making puppets to motion capture characters that are not, human standard size or human physicals. So you can get puppeteers to get in there and try motion capturing puppets. But I also feel like that is going to, for that type of character, for that style of animation, would still be very realistic, physically based motion. And I don't know how well that would carry over into the footage when you finally get it in.
The one thing too that people don't realize is that when you shoot motion capture,
Josh,
it doesn't
sorry,
mean you're done.
you're the only one amongst us that's actually like worked on a mocap stage. Is that correct?
Yes.
Somebody else here?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I was a mocap supervisor on the first game I worked
Okay,
on.
so Adam and I are the only ones who haven't worked on a
I've seen
mocap
lots
stage.
of special features, though, so
Yes.
practically I know how to do
But
it.
basically,
You walk right in and rock it.
the big thing is again
Leotards.
when you capture it, lots of people just think you pump that into the pipeline. You put a model on it, a character on it, and it's done.
You're good to
and
go.
that is
Facial
so
animation,
beyond
fingers, everything. It's
exactly. That
not
is
true.
so beyond untrue.
So everyone kind of touts Avatar as like the best motion capture experience, and just the delivery on screen is the best motion capture. What people fail to realize, especially ones that aren't in the industry, is there were 60 animators that worked on that movie. Those 60 animators were responsible for reanimating, facial animation, cleanup, a whole bunch of stuff that that film is not 100% motion capture anymore because of those animators.
So I'm gonna throw my 2 cents into this. I'm actually gonna slightly disagree. I say slightly because there's a part of this that I think is true and a part not. I do think that motion capture will be the death of 3D animation. However, I use the analogy of 3D animation, like typical CG animation, was the death of 2D animation. There will always be people who are able to animate in 2D, who are able to draw things and make them come to life that way. There will always be a need for that. There will always be 2D commercials. There will always be 2D graphical user interface elements that require that skill set. However, if you look at the market today, the mainstream thing that's done in animation is CG animation. The amount of 2D versus CG is vastly, vastly different, correct?
Yes.
And I actually think that there are going to be cases, Sean, I think you bring up a great point. We're not going to be able to motion capture a lion, I don't think, very easily. Maybe one day.
Maybe very easily is a good point.
How about a talking lion?
Right.
Or one that stands
Like
up.
Aslan.
Right. So I think there will always be circumstances where it will require 3D animation.
Probably not going to be able to motion capture a slug either, or an ant,
But
or
there's also the
Hold on. Sorry, Josh. I just want to finish my thought
Go
real
ahead,
quick,
sorry.
which is I do think, though, that motion capture is going to become much, much more of a daily part of our lives and the mainstream of capturing animation, for lack of a better word. Like basically capturing human motion content versus creating it. I think it will, the majority of what you will see out there is captured versus created.
well to piggy. I mean, I have 2 things from what you just said. One, with keyframed animation and stuff like that, yes, there are things you cannot, easily capture one, and at the same time too, like animation of 2D. I'm sorry, not 2D, but keyframed animation. Like you can't squash and stretch a character in motion capture. Like I said, it is two different types of medium. You will get a realistic person sitting down. You will get this realistic animation that you don't get with 2D with
CG
keyframed. You know, so it's always just a style. Again, it is just a form of medium. And now with you saying that that's where you see it going because it's going to become part of our everyday life, at the same time, it kind of is already, like with the Kinect. The Kinect does read you, and it draws a pseudo skeleton for you in its processor, and that's how it's driving its, driving its. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Avatar recognition.
Yeah, recognition. Thank you. And so like it's in your home right now. It's like a pseudo small, very cheaply done motion capture camera.
What I do think we're going to see is I think we're going to see advancements in the technology of how we capture data to the point where, Sean, you hit one portion that I think is important. Cleanup, right? So much of Avatar was actually taking motion capture data and cleaning it up so that it looked better. Because the current way we capture things, the current limitations with capture setups, means that there needs to be a person to go in there and clean that up. I think that in particular is in danger of disappearing. I think the technology will advance to a point where somebody can throw on a suit, it'll drive a mesh, and it will be as close to flawless as things are now.
I think technology will go farther than that. I think technology will be so that you don't need a suit anymore. I think where we're going with motion capture in the future is like RIDF. You can just tag someone up with diodes that directly talk GPS information back to the computer.
They've
super
done that.
accurate, but it's really expensive and not feasible right now.
Right.
So the optical solution is the best solution that they're using right now.
But even with that too, they tried to do it with Alice. The beginning of Alice, but the problem that they were running into was the lag of, when you have something that's optical and you have the cameras capturing it like that,
speed of light.
And so you can do quick dart movements and it's capturing that.
Sure.
When you do when you have the electrodes on like that and you're doing it, interpolation that it's doing, if you stop and
it's
then
also the speed of light is just different frequency.
Yeah, if you stop and then you go back the other way, the interpolation will sit there and think you're going farther. So it's going to try to recalculate, and all of a sudden you become this kind of swimmy motion because it's not stopping on a dime as if you would with you have.
I wonder if that's a sampling rate problem. Because I'm assuming that they have to sample the signal every so often, certain number of hertz or whatever.
Yeah.
And if that was increased, then it would be a much more
that's
locked-in signal.
They were having so much problems with that on Alice that they got rid of it and then moved.
Like I was saying, I think we'll go that way. I just don't think we're there yet. But one of the things that I want to mention is motion capture has shown itself a lot throughout VFX, films, video games, a lot of that stuff where you really are looking for a very realistic thing.
Sure.
You're capturing a very realistic thing. I know it's used a lot as reference for character animators to get their timing and hit poses and just kind of realize their performance, and it's an awesome tool, but it's not a replacement for what character animators can do. Really talented animators can put more emotion into that character right now than an actor can in a lot of situations, unless you have the gigantic budget that James Cameron has to be able to capture extremely minute things, which still need to be really, really cleaned up.
And the thing is, I know how you said it's probably going to, change it so that it's going to be even tighter and it's just going to be 100%. I don't see that it can because of the fact of, the reason for motion capture is that you can have a 7-foot person play a 2-foot character, or a 110-pound guy play a 400-pound man. And the thing is, with our movements, with this, you have to be just this completely different body.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of the cleanup does happen. It's just, hands are going through legs just because the model is so much more different than what the actual actor is. So having that, I don't know if that's ever going to be one-to-one while they ever capture.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it. It's probably not that big of a deal, but the way you marker someone up is you marker around joints and like fatty and muscly parts of the character's body. So those markers are actually shifting all the time because your body weight is jiggling. Like you're actually like your inertia is causing your muscles to move around.
I don't
so,
jiggle.
So there's a
None of me
certain amount
jiggles.
of noise in there. If you could actually get all the way down to where the joint is doing its job and record that, it would be more accurate.
Sure.
We used to have
More painful.
We used to have horrible problems with when you actually have a suit and the suit shifts. You know, people would have a head marker.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
and
we'd
the
have a
head
helmet,
shifts around.
and then like they take it off and they put it on. All of a sudden, it's at like 30 degrees different.
Now
So
your
now
head's pointing
everything
over
is
there.
just over here. It's just like, no, you can't do that. You have to.
And
I even tried. I even tested it out just on skin. I just wore just bicycle shorts, and that was
Yeah.
it. And I had these, the medical adhesive things that they do for like monitoring. We just did that all over my body with markers, and it sucked.
There is also something like, especially capturing animals, for example. So animators can animate an animal to do exactly what they want it to do. They pretty much have full control over that character. But if you marker up an animal, you cannot get that animal to land on the same foot when you need it to land on the same foot. So it really is an extremely arduous task to produce cyclical animation from those types of motions. Like they captured horses on Beowulf, right? And it must have been kind of a nightmare to use a lot of that data because horses don't ever stop the same way that they did the last time. And they use different feet to do different things at certain times. So trying to get all that stuff to hook up and work across different takes, it's probably got to be a nightmare.
You definitely don't do different takes with it. That was one thing because their upper body, when they were on the horses with their characters moving around. Oh God, this is timed with your base. Like, if you tried to do it, it would just be a hell of a fucking mess to do. Yeah. But I remember the horse rig that they had built was a real pain in the ass. But the actual data that came out of it was really solid, and the horse was moving.
Wasn't for a long time though.
No, yeah, definitely, it took a while.
There are people that are trying to figure out how to motion capture snakes, stuff like that. I just did a lot of this stuff. Sounds cool, but I really question how feasible it is.
Sure. So sorry, I'm just going to move us along. Jack, I'm going to put you on the spot here for a moment. There was a trailer that came out this week that I know we all thought was awesome, but you in particular thought was really, really cool.
I mean, honestly, the biggest reason I thought it was cool is because I thought it was going to be shit. But it's the Total Recall trailer, the full-length one. Studios remake movies because we're out of ideas, obviously, in Hollywood, and
they're scared.
They love revisiting films that were successful, and
they don't want to take a risk.
The demographic of people now are of age who thought it was cool as a kid now are old adults who make money and can go see movies again, so they're trying to cash in on that. And part of that's
there's a funny line in 21 Jump Street where they make fun of the fact that they're making a remake of an old movie, which is like, it's just something that they're trying to pull back. Ran out of ideas. They figure we wouldn't remember or something.
Yeah. Which that movie was actually surprisingly funny.
Really funny.
Really funny.
That's what everybody was saying.
Continue.
No, it's just your expectations in those scenarios are very, very low, and the trailer looked fun as hell. Like the acting, the action.
Surprising, yeah, definitely.
Some expectations tend to be actually really high too, because of the fact I think the big also selling point to studios is a lot of these remakes that happen too were movies where effects were very cheaply done. They were good for the time, but very poorly done. I mean, Total Recall is actually really good, in my opinion, at that time with the prosthetics that they did and
the practical effects.
Yeah, that's right.
Are there any particular prosthetics you're talking about?
A ceramic
here,
prosthetic, if you will, or a paper mache one. I'm sorry.
Ceramic.
Three boobs, people. Well, we're hoping for 5 in this next one. This remake. Add some more boobs.
6-pack.
6. Yeah.
But that's a huge drive. Look at Clash of the Titans. Maybe it might not have been the most amazing, epic movie of stature that we all thought it might be, but in terms of look-wise, it was pretty impressive, and that's what drove a lot of the.
Put Liam Neeson in something, and people come running.
Exactly, but I mean, you have this whole.
What about
you have a story, you have this thing where it could be made to look awesome, and same thing with Total Recall, which, by the way, it looks like it only really took the base premise of the fact that he doesn't know if he's in reality or if it's a memory. Besides that, it seems like nothing is the same as the original.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me wonder if they're eventually going to remake the whole Lord of the Rings, everything, 20 years from now.
Of course. Absolutely they will. There's a ton of money to be made there, I'm sure.
Probably.
So, I saw it, and I definitely concur with you guys. Like, it was surprisingly good, for sure. Like, I didn't have any expectations. Honestly, didn't even know they were redoing it, so saw it and was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. I will say this. One thing struck me, which is the production design in the movie really seemed like a ripoff of Minority Report. And to that end, I will say, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing for Total Recall as much as it is a really revolutionary thing for the production designer of Minority Report. I mean, I still think that people think about Minority Report and think like that is what we want computers to be one day, and that's what we want cars to be one day. Like, it was so forward thinking and so imaginative that I'm not surprised that something else reminds me of that.
When was Minority Report?
I don't know.
Have you seen
10
the
years ago?
extras on that where Steven Spielberg talks about how they got into a room with everybody that was, scientist people that thought where actually this is genuinely what the future would essentially be like,
right.
or could be like, and these
Futurists.
like the sound weapon, that kind of like spun, like all that stuff was theoretically possible, or it will be possible.
Kind of makes me wonder if there are any off limits movies that like Hollywood is not going to go back and touch. Like Kubrick-esque type stuff where you really
Like
will
E.T.?
not-
Do we think we're going to see E.T. again?
Well, I mean, E.T. was revamped
Sure.
a little bit, right? When he re-released it, he changed some things, But and the Titanic, like he went in and corrected some details that he found were wrong later on. I actually found out listening to the radio this morning that while they're like floating on the door or whatever it is, and they look up in the sky, what's the Degrassi guy, the physicist, William Degrassi Tyson or something like that?
Oh yeah.
He pointed out that the sky was the wrong sky for that hemisphere and flipped. So I guess James Cameron is going back in to replace that star sky with an accurate representation of
To
it.
fix for the 1% of society who realized that was the wrong sky.
But knowing James Cameron, that would just eat at him.
sure.
knowing
Did
it
they
was
fix
wrong,
the part
right?
when that dumb bee threw the thing off the edge when all Bill Paxton wanted was it? Like, did you fix that shit?
Hey, speaking of movie
Little
remakes, some interesting, I think, semi-news, Hollywood news that I heard this week. You know how there's this big trend to remake movies into 3D, to post-convert these movies? Apparently, Titanic, so the 100th anniversary of Titanic sinking is coming up soon, this month. And, right? It hasn't passed, right?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, I try to celebrate just the odd
So
The film releases
thing, so I don't
tomorrow,
remember
right?
what
The
the
re-release?
100th
maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's
Yeah, the
tomorrow's
re-release
anniversary.
is this week, I believe.
So they're putting it out in 3D, and apparently they believe it's going to be so successful for the money that they put into it that they just announced, or I don't know if it's been officially announced, but we're announcing, they're turning Jurassic Park into a 3D movie.
Really? I
Holy
thought you were going to say
moly.
Titanic 2.
Post-converting Jurassic Park.
They're going to really go down and get the Titanic.
Clever girl.
They're taking
Build it again.
So,
Raise it, and
Sean,
then
you
sink it again.
Yeah.
you made me think of that because in my mind, I think as a visual effects
It is
nerd,
definitely a staple in the
That is
visual
my
Absolutely.
100% staple
Staple,
for
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
movie right there.
and if there's a
defined
It has
everything
stood the
to me.
test of time all the way up
Absolutely.
till now.
Totally.
completely agree, and it's one of the first. And I think that if there is a movie that shouldn't be touched, that is like the untouchable movie for me. That's one of them in the visual effects
Kind of
field.
makes me wonder if they're going to make it shittier. like,
The fourth
like
one?
if
There's
Potentially.
good gimmicks.
let's
in
say
that
let's
movie,
say they
though.
go back and remake Jurassic Park, and it's exactly the same shot for shot, but they do new CG. Will it look shittier than it did back then when they first did it?
It depends if they cast Mark Ruffalo in the main role.
Because the newer ones,
I got no problems with Mark
the newer
Ruffalo.
ones don't seem as grounded in reality. Like the dinosaurs that they developed for the newer Jurassic Park movies don't seem as grounded in reality as the ones. They didn't seem as realistic, although they looked more detailed and everything.
I'm going to guess, and I think this maybe we're getting into some interesting territory here, but the success of Jurassic Park for me was the blend. It wasn't the visual effects, it was the blend of puppetry and visual effects. I think that was truly what made it remarkable. And I think the other two movies lost that, right? So in Jurassic Park 1, there was a tremendous amount of puppetry, and there was a tremendous amount of input from Phil Tippett on like puppetry and stop motion animation kind of techniques and that kind of motion and movement, and they combined that with CG, and that combination made this really revolutionary thing. And I think the puppetry and the real models, the real Tyrannosaurus Rex they made it seem realistic. And I think they lost that in the second ones because it was pretty much all CG, because that was much cheaper to do. And I think it shows.
Also, the story got worse.
Way worse.
Adam.
Yeah.
So you were very kind, and for Christmas this last year, you got me a set of surround sound gaming headphones.
Oh, I was like, where
Actually,
is this
I should
going?
say, I don't think you got them. I think you suggested my wife get them for me. But
I was 95% of the driving force behind that.
But
Besides the money.
I admit that it took me a while to bust them out. But once I did,
Everybody remembers when Christmas is, right?
yeah, well,
December.
I bust them out like
Of last year.
3 weeks ago.
So just everybody remembers, like, it is now April 4th.
I bust them out like 3 weeks
They're-
ago.
they're
But anyways, so I put them on, and I have to say, something unexpected. And I know this is what they were designed for, but
They surrounded you with sound?
they did. No, I am amazed at the games that I've played and what I've missed because I haven't been truly hearing the nuance.
Well, you hear tons of background
Of
characters and their
sound.
actual dialogue and
Yeah.
everything like that too.
It is amazing to the point where I was like, what are my favorite games? I want to go back and play those games, and it is, in my opinion, a
Go-
more immersive experience.
Absolutely.
Go listen to Nine Inch Nails albums, too, while you're at it.
Yeah.
With
There's a
surround
lot of
sound
stuff
headphones.
that you miss without headphones. Yes. That dude is a freaking genius.
It's pretty interesting. And this is a bigger conversation, Adam, but I'm curious your thoughts as to, like, there's a whole art form of, obviously, sound design for movies, but I feel like sound design in games is something that kind of gets overlooked, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, since I think I got my first surround sound when I was, I don't know, a freshman in college, and movies, video games, anything, I can't watching in stereo is miserable. I mean, the games in particular where you are involved in them and they're sometimes even more immersive than a movie, it's those subtle sound cues. And I obviously play a lot of first-person shooters, and any game though that is well designed in sound, you literally can be walking and you'll be hearing footsteps to your left, and you'll scan to your left and you'll hear things and cues that can tip you off where people are coming. And without a doubt, the preference, I mean, good sound is critical for a game or movie enjoyment.
There's
without
a
a doubt.
term in like modern warfare
For
series
those people who don't know,
of sound whoring.
Yeah.
where you are listening specifically for people coming at you so you can react to them before they expect you to.
Because there are perks in the game where it's like their footsteps are louder and you are quieter. So you will just sit there in a corner and just know that traffic is going to be coming here, and you hear tuk 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 tuk, and you just go back and stick, stab you in the butt. You're down.
Let's be good.
It's really amazing. I mean, you know, I have to admit, I always assumed that there were people out there designing and putting this stuff into this, putting sound design into games. But I guess I apologize to any sound designers out there in games because I never really fully enjoyed it.
I mean, surround sound is fantastic, and I don't want to play games without it. But playing with like a legit pair of headphones, like surround headphones, you know, it's a completely different experience.
One of the games
You mean
that
surround
I
or
remember,
not? Like surround or otherwise using headphones versus speakers.
Oh,
is
I
a
think
different
legit.
experience.
I mean, headphones that have the drivers and the that you can actually differentiate between front left, rear left are going to be different than just my stereo headphones I'm wearing right now.
One of the games that I remember sound having such a dramatic impact on the gameplay experience was the first Alien vs. Predator that released on the PC. Mainly because you'd go through the Marine campaign and you would have the motion sensor. It was like you were inside Aliens with the super gun and face huggers running around and leaping at you, and it was terrifying, but really gratifying experience to feel like you were inside that movie playing it. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Scared the shit out of you.
Well, that's the games. Like some of those games, I remember. God, what was it? Condemned for the Xbox.
Oh God, yeah.
Like one of the first games that came out for the Xbox, and you're like a detective, and you're in this decrepit, metropolitan area.
Everyone's going
And you're
psycho
going after
for
like
no
home, and
reason.
all your weapons are like 2x4s with nails and pipes you rip off the wall. And I remember like sitting in my dorm room, and it wasn't even my Xbox, but I was the one that had the biggest TV, and the surround sound. So we brought it into my room, and it's dark, and there's like 8 of us guys sitting in there, and I'm standing on my bed, and it is probably one of the most terrifying experiences ever because it's
Because it's a bunch of
it's
dudes
the
in a dorm
combination
room.
of, I mean, yeah, and then most of us weren't wearing pants, but it's fine. But no, seriously, it's that combination of of sound, but then the lack of sound, and then you're hearing sound all around you, and you hear behind you, you hear the dragging of whatever weapon some drugged up guy has, and so you're turning around.
You hear a guy whisper at you,
and
then
it's
you turn
like,
around, and you see him run by.
And it is that immersion that surround sound can do over just a giant screen.
To that
Dead
end,
Space is infamous for that.
Yeah, to that end, I was going to
Scary.
say, is there a game like, has anyone here played Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2 with surround sound headphones?
Not with
Not with headphones.
Just surround
Because I wonder if that would be if that would change and be a more terrifying experience to hear like zombie
Maybe.
sounds creeping
Yeah.
up behind you. So on a similar kind of subject, this is sound design, as in like kind of the actual design to sound effects and the dialogue and things of that nature. What about music? Are there any gaming soundtracks or gaming music that really stands out for you guys as helping to pave the way of the game?
I think Halo was really good at implementing music at very key points in the campaign storyline. Because it'd kind of be a little dull, and you'd be shooting people and blah blah blah, and you hear or and all that shit. But then you'd hit some checkpoint, and the music would kick in. You'd be like, amped. I'm amped now. I'm gonna go kill some aliens.
That's one of the first games I think I ever remember of it actually being sold. Like, this is the soundtrack to the game.
And
Like
they
it was
had,
a,
that I
it was a
have.
separate
Yeah,
product.
they had Volume 1, and then they
Yeah.
had Volume 2, and then each game, I think, was it the second?
Yeah. Marty McDonald. Marty McDonald, I think, is who did it.
Yeah.
Is that who did it? Yeah.
And then like then they started bringing in even like bands to do it too.
Mm-hmm. Incubus, I think, is on it.
Yep. Breaking Benjamin.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was a pinnacle, I think, for game soundtracks. Anything else stand out in your guys' mind?
I mean,
Or is that
as
the
far
one?
as soundtrack, I mean, that to me that was the beginning. That was a staple, and then like more, more games started to take cue from that because of the success that it had. So
I don't think anything has affected me the way that Halo has, because what I find myself doing now with more games is I put on my own music while I'm playing that game, because I feel like it's not helping the game play, the story, the experience. So I want my own thing to work that out.
I totally do that too.
There's one, this is really going to surprise you guys. I know this will coming from me, but there is one soundtrack of more recent time than the first Halo that I think is worth mentioning, which is Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is Hans Zimmer. That was the first time they got Hans Zimmer involved, if I understand correctly. And I really think that elevated that franchise to something beyond first-person shooter into its own, like, not genre, but it's a franchise now. Like, it is taken it to an actual art form. It's put it in, like, it's not just something we're going to crank out. It is, like, really, like, something substantial, I think, in the industry. That was something that helped solidify that.
And I think if nothing else, it's showing the validity of video games as an art form.
Very true. Yeah, good point.
One of these cameras, I think, just shut off, but that's cool.
It's beeping like it's going to crash.
Not this one. Oh, it is this one. Bye.
But I think it brings the the video games as more of an art form. When you're saying we're going to put this money,
well, hiring Hans Zimmer's not cheap.
Exactly. So it shows,
and his super hot violinists,
obviously,
all 19 of them.
But it shows how much they're putting, how much stock they're putting into video games and the experience as a whole. When it's like, yeah, we're going to pay the money to do this part of it, and I think that's very cool.
So, question to the group: if you were
a soundtrack,
if you had your choice with a video game to go with better sound and music or better visuals, which way would you go at this point?
Wow.
You're talking in the design of the game.
Yeah.
Not even just in how I consume it.
Or even in just, you're looking at two different games that have those two different features. What would sway you?
Jeez.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can say like 100% that this is my answer, but I'm so right now enthralled by sound because it's new for me. I will say...
Jason's been deaf up until about 3 weeks ago.
I will say, we all work in the graphics industry. Obviously, graphics, visuals are very important to us. But, man, sound is something I've been taking for granted, and that is cool. It's a hot thing for sure. So I'm not sure. I might say sound right now. I might say I'd prefer better music and sound.
I think I would probably agree.
Let me put it this way. There's not Black Ops. What was the one that Treyarch did before Black Ops, the first Nazi zombies, World at War. So World at War, great visuals. I don't think super memorable sound design. I would rather go back and play the original Halo on the original Xbox with super crappy graphics compared to today's standards, but with really good sound design and good music.
That's not fair because that gameplay was better too. I think at this point I would really like to get a game that has some of the artists as the music track. Like, I don't know, Trent Reznor and Atticus Stone, is that his name? The two guys that did the music for
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
No, the freaking the Facebook movie, whatever. Social Network. Like if groups like that got together to design the music for a game, that would totally sway me. Because I'm like, I'm already a fan. I know that you guys do good work. You're translating that work for film into an experience in a game that I can interact with. I think that would sway me. We've got a lot of amazing graphics games right now, and it's just getting better. I'd love to see
much of a push for.
I would love to see some time and money spent on the music, not the sound. I think we're there with the sound, but the music for the games.
See, I'm nervous about the fact of, I was kind of taking the question of, remember when you could go, would you want either your sight or your, sight or smell? Which one would you want more? Like if you had to lose one, because you can have amazing sound in a shitty game. It's not going to make you want to play that game. To me, the sound and the storytelling.
Well, I posed it as
hand.
the question that I refactored is: you have two games in your hand. You want to play both of them. Which one?
You're not concerned about the gameplay of both of them. You're not concerned about
And I want to be clear. Your original question was not gameplay versus sound. Your original question was visuals versus sound.
Yeah.
That's why I brought up the Halo analogy. Is regardless of which gameplay is better, the visuals sucked in Halo compared to today's standard. But I'd rather go play that because of the sound.
Released a
Halo anniversary.
But at the same time, at the time when it came out, it looked great.
That's true.
Because we didn't know. Anything.
Yeah.
That's very, very true.
But yeah, take gameplay out of the. Let's assume that the gameplay will be what you want. But which would sway you to the title? Would it be audio or would it be visual?
Let's take it back to. Oh, sorry, Adam.
I'd say it would be hard.
No, he hasn't answered yet. I'm not taking.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I'm taking you off the hot seat. Damn it. I would have to say.
And it's not going to be shitty. It's not going to be shitty visuals. It's not going to be like, hey, here's an N64.
Yeah. It just won't be super next gen visuals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not like you're like all of a sudden watching where you can can't tell what the turtle is racing around in Mario Kart on a plasma, which I've done.
Just a bunch of sprites in your face.
It's really hard.
Really quick, is it that the because
clarifying is good.
Clarifying here.
We love to clarify
yes, we do
questions.
love to clarify. The does this God, how do I put this? Does the game
Would you like Adam to answer and we can come back to you?
go ahead and come back to me because I'm trying to figure out how to.
I already answered.
Okay. Josh,
So
back
back
to you.
Sorry, man.
I think I will accept. I don't know. I'll buy both of them.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go visuals actually right now.
All right.
Fair
Nice. I mean, you're wrong, but that's cool.
So even though I was in the sound state or not stage, but it was kind of a recording area booth, if you will, for God of War 2. And I was going over I was working for Sony San Diego at the time, and they were doing a lot of the sound for God of War 2. And so I went in just to kind of, talk to the guy, and I wanted to get his, kind of not input, but, just his knowledge, if you will, of the sound. And he was doing the chains for every time
cool.
Kratos did these things. And
like
he's
Foley chains?
Well, no, that's the thing. He was... have you ever seen when they do Jurassic Park, like the sound of the Velociraptor is a combination between a lion, of this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
So he's building his library.
He's
that he
built.
can then
He has
mix.
this thing, and like it was, every move had a complete different sound when it came to
That's
it.
cool.
So he was like, "Oh, this is like one swipe," and he's like showing me. It's like, and it was so fucking loud in there too, and it's just like. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool right now. It was impressive, and so when I think of game design and game sound, that kind of experience always comes to mind. I'm just like, that is so cool, and I would definitely miss out if that stuff is not there. But I don't think so much of that gets translated into games very well to really enjoy that experience.
I want to slightly switch gears towards movie soundtracks here. I think if you look at composers, movie score composers, there's two that really stand out as the pinnacle of what that art form is. I think John Williams is obviously one, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think that Hans Zimmer is the next one. I think that those two guys, this is just my opinion, are kind of the top tier of movie score composers and have done some of the most influential and biggest movies of our day. That being said, there's analyzing their work just for a second. I have found that Hans Zimmer creates music. Now I'm going to word this very carefully and hear me out here. That better fits with the movies that he scores for than John Williams. However, John Williams creates timeless music that you will remember for the rest of your life. Here's my point. If I asked you to hum the theme song for The Rock, I'm not sure that everyone could. If I asked you to hum the theme song for Indiana Jones, everyone could.
That's because he takes the Peter and the Wolf approach, where he has a theme for every major character archetype in the film, and he builds this language in music that Hans Zimmer doesn't approach the film the same way, I don't think.
And for people that don't know, who these people are, if you have any listeners, name off some of the movies
good point.
that each one has done that maybe people would know, this to this.
So John Williams is kind of Steven Spielberg's guy. He's done E.T., Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park,
Star Wars.
Star Wars, thank you. Hans Zimmer has done a lot of the Michael Bay movies. He did The Rock. I believe he did Con Air. He's done some of the Modern Warfare games as of late. He's his
some DreamWorks movies.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of the DreamWorks movies.
Who did the first Pirates?
Klaus Baldet, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
But Hans Zimmer took over for Dead Man's Chest and
Klaus
beyond.
Klaus did the Jack Sparrow theme,
which is interesting because if you really analyze those, it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
If you really think about the themes and the memorable music in the Pirates franchise, it's actually stuff from the first movie, not from the others. Mm. But here's my point. That's not to belittle either one. I think they're two completely different styles. But if you look at Hans's music and you watch one of his movies, I believe that Hans's whole mentality is the music should not distract. It should not be memorable. It should be seamless.
It should enhance the emotional response
it should be,
for that.
Exactly.
moment.
It should be immersive. And I'm not sure John Williams' approach is the same. I believe his is, I want to create music that's memorable for characters and memorable for moments. Not necessarily
it's like
seamless.
a theme song.
Right.
He's creating like the theme
What?
song, like,
I'm looking it up right now.
Costanza.
Costanza.
Folgers in your
But I want to know what John Williams has done. Like
Harry Potter.
since-
But I think
He's done the Harry Potter ones, I think, is his latest stuff.
I think with Hans Zimmer's Inception, he really did kind of everybody like when that trailer came out and just that low
But he wove that stuff so into the thread of the story that I agree with Jason. Like, he definitely takes a different approach to his musical design.
And that's why I say,
film.
I think my original statement is Hans's music seems to fit.
He's telling a story with his music.
Yeah, it seems to fit with the movie better, and it's a more immersive, and yet I would rather go back and listen to a John Williams soundtrack than I would a Hans Zimmer soundtrack.
I mean,
Who did the Gladiator soundtrack?
Howard Shore?
Henry Gregson Williams?
Harry Gregson Williams.
Whatever.
All right,
Who I believe works for...
Adam.
I believe...
for fucking pulling that out.
Harry also did How to Train Your Dragon.
Impressive, sir.
Interesting side note, which I
awesome,
think
by
really
the way.
stems from why Jason loves John Williams so much, is he's done all the Lego video games.
That's because all the Lego video games are really just
Based
music
on
from
his
his
franchises.
movies.
I'm just saying. I think that's really where it stems from.
Let me just put it this way.
Legos.
Here's an interesting thing. We've had the guys who worked at DreamWorks had a really incredible experience once, which is Hans Zimmer, who has a very special relationship with DreamWorks, brought a whole bunch of his artists and performers that he works with, some of his composers, and they actually performed
And his hot violinists.
live on the roof of the parking structure at DreamWorks Animation.
Really quick though, we got to see this at DreamWorks as a celebration for adding an expansion onto the parking structure. We were celebrating
More parking?
20 more spots on each level of a 5-level
And
parking.
hey, why
fight
why
win.
wouldn't you celebrate that with bringing Hans Zimmer in and playing
this
his
was
music?
a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity experience that we got to enjoy, and it was fucking amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. I completely agree. Now, here's the interesting thing: Hans does not play live. Like that, you can't just go to a concert and see Hans perform live. Every year, John Williams puts on a concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Every single year, and every year it sells out. And I think there's something interesting there because I've experienced both. I don't know if you guys have seen John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl, but two very different experiences. But here's what I come away with: I left Hans Zimmer thinking that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What an incredible thing to see this man perform his own songs live. And yet, I don't remember a single song that was played. However, when I go to John Williams...
But how did you feel?
It felt amazing. It was incredible. But when I go to the John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl, and he does his encore with Star Wars, and every single person in the audience busts out a multicolored lightsaber.
That was bonkers.
It is this incredible communal experience, and I think it's because his music, his themes, are so memorable and have touched so many people.
It's very
Again, 'cause it's like a
interesting.
theme song. Like it is something you go to and you remember. So it's just like, an 80s pop hit. Everybody's going to know. Everything is going
Falling,
just like the video. What is it?
falling.
What's Video Games Live?
Yeah.
That is played with the orchestra, and it's played these songs to the Mario theme. Everybody knows like a Mario theme.
What the songs? Besides, Jack Sparrow.
You sound like me right there, trying to figure out something.
Name John Williams songs that you know, like the big ones. Name them.
Wait, hold on. Jack Sparrow was not done by John Williams.
Right. Sorry, but so name John Williams songs that you're.
The Indiana Jones theme song, the
March of
Jurassic
the
Park
March
theme
of the
song.
Stormtroopers.
Okay.
The Imperial,
The
Imperial March.
Imperial March. That's what I meant.
My point is what happened 80s that isn't happening now? Like why were the
Montages.
movies?
I would say I could
montages.
remember
Like,
very
is it-
easily the Harry Potter theme song.
Okay.
And that something that came out.
Go.
Nice.
Nice. All right. Good.
Oh, you wanted us
I
to
even knew
sing
that
it?
one.
No. But I'm saying like
Ow.
I just was wondering. It wasn't. It was just an interesting thing. I was wondering. John Williams.
You were wondering if it was time
I
frame
don't know.
based?
Yeah, like
It's
the
a good
movies
question.
that Indiana Jones, obviously, without a doubt,
Is super memorable.
Everybody, and I think the ones that I could hum right now, cold, hark back to a little bit more of the older stuff. I'm impressed with the Harry Potter, but things that I could recognize are even more recent.
Wait, are you talking about 80s stuff or
No, but
now
I'm saying
stuff?
like John Williams stuff, like stuff that if I said
Right,
hum
right.
the theme song to the
E.T..
Batman, Dark Knight, or what
yeah.
like something like that, or even Inception. Besides going, I think, he created more iconic songs to more iconic movies, and I don't know if
I don't know that I agree with that. 100%.
I don't know. That's just an interesting. That's what I was just wondering is and it's these people, these John Williams, and obviously they're super super talented, and it's this cyclical thing where they keep getting drawn back into the movies that are going to be super successful, and then they're
Right.
it's
because they partner with the same type of directors,
Right.
Who make this type of movie,
Right,
Who
and
make
so-
this, and it's like
and so-
anytime they come out with a movie, like Spielberg comes out with a movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
He's like,
going
I'm gonna
be
go to
this
John
kind of-
Williams first.
Exactly.
Same thing where they hook up with the
Yeah.
actors that they like. They hook
And
up
it's-
with
It's not like
cinematographers
I want
that
to say that I want to take any credit away from these guys because they're obviously fantastic, and if they had any ounce of suckage in them, they probably wouldn't still be doing it.
Okay, so real quick.
Okay, cool.
Just-
yeah, I wasn't in the middle of a thought, so that's cool.
Go ahead. Interesting that works for you guys, but whenever you interrupt me, it doesn't work. Go
No,
ahead.
that's cool. What's up?
Continue.
No, I'm good.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, that's just what we need is some dead air.
Exactly.
Right now. Way to go,
I know.
guys.
Now we're moving on.
Crappy
I was just going to
brothers-in-law.
say, just going to read through real quick Hans Zimmer's, some of the stuff he's worked on, and maybe ask one of you guys to bring up John Williams while I'm doing this, if anyone cares to.
I got John Williams up.
So he's Dark Knight Rises coming out
Yeah.
soon, Madagascar 3, he's done Kung Fu
good.
Panda 2,
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Rango, Inception, Megamind, The Pacific, Sherlock Holmes, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Frost and Nixon, This is just all of recent here.
Who did Shrek? The first one.
I don't know. Batman Begins, Shark Tale, King Arthur, The Last Samurai, Matchstick Men, Tears of the Sun, The Ring, Thelma and Louise, The Last Journey,
F that movie.
He's
Not a
all over the
directed-
board, isn't he?
Pearl
Seriously.
Harbor, Hannibal. So he's done an incredible amount of Mission Impossible 3, Gladiator. He did Gladiator.
Yeah.
He's extremely versatile. And now I wonder if John Williams'
He's got some bonkers
list
ones.
is as
He's got some
versatile as
weird
that,
ones.
right?
I mean, without going,
Piranha 3D.
without going all over the board. I mean, obviously Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Sabrina, Nixon Sleepers, 7 Years in Tibet, Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, Stepmom.
There's a lot
Star
of Spielberg
Wars.
movies.
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
oh yeah. I mean, it's, The Patriot, AI, Harry Potter, Minority Report, Harry Potter, Catch Me If You Can, which I love that soundtrack.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
That one's fantastic. I could probably, I could, yeah, I could. That one I could sing too.
There's like 8 Spielberg movies that he
I
just.
know.
I mean, War of the
rattled off.
Worlds, The
But there's,
Terminal,
there's
9,
also people
10.
who have, there's also people that have their
Munich.
their
11.
Style that you can pick out.
Yeah.
Like who does Tim Burton's all the time?
Danny
Danny
Elfman.
Danny
Elfman.
You
Elfman.
can
I
pick out
think he
Danny
gets a little
Elfman.
undercredited because I think he's also got a
But
really,
Danny Elfman
really
has
good.
come out with some stuff recently that doesn't sound at all like Danny Elfman.
He did,
It's
he
really
did the
good stuff,
Wanted
too.
soundtrack, which I
Yeah.
thought was fantastic.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also
He
wrote the
did-
theme songs for The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He did Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man I think as well. Spider-Man 2, like
Yes.
the Tobey Maguire ones, not
Yeah.
the remake coming out.
Yeah.
When does the remake come out, by the way?
This summer.
No.
Dan Camp's
Yeah.
going to be posting on Facebook right now.
It's coming out.
When are we getting Dan on the show, by the way? We
As
need
soon
to.
as he
get that.
stops working 40-hour week. I mean 40 hour
40.
days.
Whoa.
40-hour
rough.
days.
Wow.
days.
Oh no,
Wow.
2012. Sorry guys.
Sorry,
Exactly.
guys. 40-hour weeks really cutting into my
97 days a month. 2
So-
days a year.
Jack, because you've been suspiciously quiet this evening, I know you're not feeling too well.
Jackie's
I'm putting
under
you
the
right
weather,
on the
by the way.
spot.
Yucky.
So,
I'm just letting you guys go at it.
we there's something that happened. I believe it was like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. There was an employee that was fairly high up at Google that left, and he left under some rocky circumstances, from what I understand. And he wrote a letter describing his exit and his feelings about the company. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I took from the pre-show conversation as I'm the only one who thought this was interesting. But the interesting
parts that I think
the interesting
was
part to me is that the company that we know as Google is, at least in circles that I tend to run in, feel that it's the holy grail of places to work. You get the free lunch. You get
It's got the
You
best
get
work
sleeping
environments.
areas.
You got
Your
those
nap
cubes and those
The
those,
20% rule
grass
is
in
huge
your
and
office.
amazing.
so good that it doesn't always
Massages.
make the Forbes top 100 list, at least high up on the list, but it's still amazing, and people still talk about it as being.
2 or 3, I think.
Is it 2 or 3 right now?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Is it still high up there?
I think it's been up there consistently
This
for
guy
10 years.
sort of came out to say that it and this was his dream job at one point. He had left Microsoft to go work with them with the hopes of getting to work on some research and development on some really cool stuff that maybe Microsoft wasn't letting him do, and the reality came through that that's not really their MO. I mean, they're a company; they're there to make money, which fair enough, that's what it is. But his illusions were broke, and with that, he went back to Microsoft and wrote this letter.
How long was he there?
5 years,
Yeah, something
like that.
reasonable.
It was enough time to
Yeah.
make a
To make a legit opinion.
Yeah,
Get an assessment.
exactly. Yeah.
It's like 4 days.
I think
was
it's
there for like
it's
4 days.
interesting because like when we were just talking about Google Glass right early on the show, like they seem like they promote. I mean, and we talked about Google Cars last week. They seems like they promote themselves incredibly well as an innovative company for sure.
Right.
And I think the thing that I took away from this guy's article was everything that's done in the company. You know, every single thing is just to support the ad business, the advertising business. I think that's the portion of it that surprised me.
And I think if you look at a lot of the products that they're developing, they are investigating where ads fit in and all of those things.
Pop-ups
right?
on those damn glasses are going to suck balls.
Yeah, man.
It is interesting. I
Scrolling
mean,
ads on every single... looking at a coat, and it's like, well, you could get this coat here for
Find
this
it
price,
cheaper
and
for here. Find it cheaper here.
Are you cold? Here are blankets.
But
Is-
part of that guy's rant was how he couldn't believe, that they were spending and worrying so much about like advertising and and not being this innovative company, which
They claim to be.
yeah, they claim to be. And one thing that stood out to me in that article that actually does make complete sense is how Facebook, because that was the big thing, Google and Facebook, like those two people, Google could not understand at the same time how big Facebook was getting. And one thing too, that one of the head guys at Google,
Sergey, Larry Page,
something like that,
He
he was saying how he can't believe that any company that was huge, like massively, was letting another company put their name before them. Because when you go to Facebook and I think he used like Nike, for example. You go to facebook.com/Nike. You don't go to nike.com/Facebook. You have Facebook in front of the name before the actual, company that is this multi-billion-dollar company. So he was just like saying that they couldn't figure out how they were able to do that and that Google wasn't.
Is that really intelligence in design, or is that just, hey, this is how HTML works? Like, you have a website called Facebook.com, and then every page that's created gets a subcategory under that.
But the thing is how much you are partnering with this company of going like, I'm going to let you be in front of us.
Like Nike is saying Facebook is important enough to me that it's not nike.com/Facebook to see our Facebook page. I think it's take it outside of the nerdy. Yeah, I know how internet works, and I know how to go to Facebook, but it's
from
saying,
an advertising.
It's from an advertising saying like literally Nike is valuing Facebook to the point where our page is facebook.com/Nike, not you see it, you get it the other way where everybody knows Nike.com. You want to see our social media page, you go to nike.com/Facebook.
Yeah, and that was apparently like. This huge thing that they didn't get that and that they wanted to do. And that's why they were so behind with everything. Because that's the thing. Google is behind. They come out with an idea because they want to tap into this market, but they just seem like an afterthought.
They're behind
Google
in
Plus,
some things. Not all things. I would argue
I would argue saying 90% of things.
I would disagree with that.
Facebook's search engine is not great. Like it's just not.
They're clearly
I go to
behind the times.
Facebook.com and I'm like, how many, what's the lowest elevation in Utah? And it just brings me people that live in Utah. And I'm like, now I got to ask them.
Well, I'm not talking about just with Google and Facebook. I'm talking about Google just trying to tap into social media stuff.
Totally.
Oh, just social media?
Yeah, plus kicked ass.
Yeah, I mean, because, they do a great job as a search engine. They do a fucking wonderful job with maps and stuff like that.
YouTube.
They are these things.
YouTube did a good job with YouTube.
They bought that.
But they bought YouTube and turned it into something truly amazing. It wasn't. YouTube was interesting by itself, but when it got Google, that's where it really took off.
How long ago did they buy it?
What's his name? Murdoch
5 years ago.
Them first.
Who?
What's his name? Murdoch.
Rupert Murdoch.
Rupert Murdoch. Didn't he buy? I thought he bought, or was that MySpace I'm thinking of?
He bought MySpace.
He bought
was
MySpace.
good.
Okay,
Purge.
that's what I'm thinking of. Never mind. But I mean, with Google's trying to be like Twitter, so they were doing Buzz. Fucking failed. They're trying to be this innovative, chat system.
I definitely agree with you.
Wave failed. They're trying to do Google Plus, and they're trying to do this social thing.
That's what
It's not failed yet, but. It's certainly
they're shutting it down though, right? I mean, everybody got those emails. Right?
That's Wave.
That's Wave. No,
I thought they were saying Plus was going down.
No, they're still trying to do Plus.
I definitely agree with you about anything social media related. Google is 100% behind the ball.
But
on
that
all
is
that aspect.
what they're trying to get their revenue from now because, yes, they are an advertisement company. That is what they do. But anything outside of that, they're behind. They're trying to be this innovative company, but they're just behind with everything.
What I took from the story, the subcontext and why I wanted to bring it up on the show, had nothing to do even with that. Had to do with the bigger thing of, is there, and this goes out to you guys, was there ever a job that you had such high expectations going in, like this was your dream job or this is where you wanted to work your whole life, you got the chance to get there, and it was shit, or it wasn't what you thought, and
That's how I felt about
it turned out
stripping.
bad.
Stripping?
Stripping was not the dream job I thought I was going to do.
but the money's so good.
It's so
Exactly.
good.
It was mediocre.
I have one story really quick. A side note: I have a friend of mine that used to be a male exotic, dancer, if you will.
Just want me to love, bunny.
The great, we have video now, but everybody knows what we all look like. Just so we're clear now.
I had hair back then.
So he went to kind of I think it was a bachelor party. I'm trying to remember.
Bachelor.
Bachelorette.
Okay, thank
party.
God.
And they were a bunch of female strippers, and they had hired him. And so
Sounds like a lot of pressure.
yeah, so they basically he went to the place. They shut the door and just locked it and stuff. And he was just like, "Oh my God!" And they're like, "Oh, just so you know, we're all strippers here.
We're
We're all
judging
female strippers and everything like that. So we know what's going on. FYI, we're going to pay you really well. We're going to tip you very well." But we are just going to completely fuck with you. And basically what it was, they would sit there and, he would be, they'd get him on the ground or something and do stuff. And the goal...
Do stuff?
Well, let me tell you. Like, they would lay down and the goal was who can get him excited first. Oh, my God. By just doing all of these things to him.
Sounds really awkward.
like
But awesome.
the best
kind of
gig
sounds like
ever.
the best
But
I'm gonna get
job
paid
ever.
for you to make me feel good.
Have we just become Nerdtastic in 3D after dark?
After dark. But yeah, I'm sorry. So stripping. I'm sure you didn't have any of those stories.
No,
No,
all
stripping.
fatties.
This one,
Hey, fat girls need love too.
I mean, the second you
They
kind
were
of brought up
gracious.
the Google thing, the first thing I thought of was we all know. I mean, Jason works at Disney Feature, and we know some people that work at Disney Animation side, and I've just the vibes I get is it's just you drink the Kool-Aid. It's like, no, but this is great. I love working for this company. It doesn't matter. I know it's shit, but I love working for this company. I work for Google.
My wife's the best example.
It doesn't
I could ever
matter.
use,
It doesn't matter.
ever.
Like, we got a friend. I mean, she's a coordinator, a PM now, and just is constantly complaining about it, and yet she's still there, probably there now. Was there on the weekend.
I think
We'll be there next weekend, and probably the weekends after that. And it's just like you value the idea of working for that company more than I value.
What about Top Gear?
It comes and goes, ebbs and flows. It's not as constantly miserable, and I get to drive some bitchin' cars. So I will say the pros outweigh the cons.
I don't know,
Absolutely.
I mean, we all work in jobs that I think we enjoy, but everyone understands that work is work sometimes. It
Sure.
just sucks sometimes.
Definitely.
And
Top
I deal
Gear
with
wasn't
that.
a dream, though. You
I
hadn't gone
didn't
through
go to
life
college
saying,
going, I wanna work
I
for
can't
Top
wait to
Gear."
work. That's what I'm
Absolutely,
getting
yeah.
at. Have you
No.
been able to work for whoever your dream
No.
company was, and has it lived up to your expectations?
No.
I've had two. I've had DreamWorks and I've had Disney, and I would say that I'm not going to tell you which is which, but I will say that one of them definitely met my expectations and I would say exceeded them, and one of them has not met my expectations, or during that time would not have met my expectations. I'm not going to tell you which was which.
I have to say mine kind of did, because, for those that have just, listening, haven't heard the past ones, and we've talked about what we've done. When I was a kid, I always my dream was to make a video game. And, based off of a commercial for Sega. And, when I got my first job, it was for 2K Sports, which was Sega 2K Sports. So technically, I got to work for the company that I always dreamed about working for. So right there, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I'm working at making a video game.
Blew your load way too soon.
Yeah, I totally blew my load at 22 years old. And so I'm sitting there, and when I showed up to the place, when I showed up to my interview, I was wearing a shirt, a tie, and everything, trying to be like professional.
Yeah.
I got there and I walked in, and people just kind of looked at me like, "What is this guy doing?"
yuppie?
This
Douche. Everybody else is just like in jeans and shorts and flip flops. Their feet are up on the desks and stuff like that, playing games, yelling at each other about some game last night. And I'm just like, "What the fuck is going on here? This is awesome." And then they had the vending machines and stuff, and the kitchens, and I'm just like, "Well, okay." I got hired, and then when I got showed around even more, it was just like that we had like the game rooms, and then we had all of these.
Wait, a game company had game rooms?
Yeah.
Barca Lounge.
We actually, we had like this whole game room thing, and then we had the game library, which is all the games for just so many systems
Fruit
that you can just go and check out and play. And I'm just like, this place is amazing. And
then you started working.
And then you started working.
No, and it stayed amazing till you left.
Well, I mean, it definitely.
No, this is my point.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about day one when you got your hire.
Yeah,
I'm talking
absolutely.
about your experience while you worked at this place. Did it live up to the dream?
Yeah.
It lived up to the dream in terms of I wasn't unhappy. Me personally, just because of the fact of, I excelled at that company pretty quickly. And I excelled at that company, in a good way to where I didn't leave on bad terms. And, it was a little rough because I got hired at the bottom. And I know some of us definitely have experienced it. When you get hired at the bottom and you try to climb that corporate ladder,
It's a tall ladder.
it's very tall, and it's very, you're like, I'm doing this with this person that, I'm doing the exact same thing, if not even better, and I'm getting paid a third of what they're getting paid. I know it's paying your dues, and I know it's that. So that was really the only thing that was kind of frustrating when it came to that company. But, everybody was really cool, and I left going like, I would definitely work there again. But then I experienced even better places.
Sure.
So I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to go back there again now.
I want to riff off of what Sean said, qualify my statement with while I think one of the places that I've worked was great and met my expectations, that's certainly, there's valleys and peaks, right? Every job has its moments where it's like, it's sucky. But I think it's, you leave or you look back at a time period, if you're still at a place, you look back at a time period and you say, has this from A to B been an incredible experience, or has it been a positive or a negative experience, or where does it meet in that expectation? So I think it's important to recognize, Josh, like I'm sure as great as 2K Sports was, there were certainly sucky moments.
Oh, definitely.
But there were a lot more awesome moments or awesome perks than there were low moments.
Yes, definitely. I've only had one, and again, this is speaking to this industry. I've only had one place where it's been, I wouldn't go back and do that again.
Right.
So,
gentlemen, I believe it's that time.
is that time?
We should start wrapping things up.
Jack's turning into a pumpkin. We gotta get you home.
Cinderella.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to Nerdtastic in 3D. This has been episode number 20.
Bente.
Again, guys, congratulations for making it.
You know it in any other languages?
That's a no.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. I am Jason Carter. To my left is...
Adam McFarland.
Jack Eckler.
Sean Fallon.
Just the brothers.
We again are Nerdtastic in 3D. Thank you so much for listening. And we're out.
Good night.
Nerdtastic in 3D.